Hello and welcome to a new podcast. My name is Javier Solsona and I'll be showing you how to use blendShapes and softMods in world space basically in order to create extra controllers for your deformations and for your setups. We got a head of the Great Dane model. It was part of my previous masterclass from 2007. It was modeled by Chris Baker, and Santi Colomo did the texturing. So right now what we have it's the head. It's weighted. I've got a very quick weight on the head, and it just got a few simple bones. You can see there, but we're going to be concentrating more on how to add some extra deformation. So what we want to be adding is a softMod. Softmods can be great for modeling, but we can also use them for animation, and they give us quite a bit of control. In 2008, now we can paint the weights of the softmods, so that's even more control over already existing great controllers. So if we open our toolbox here, I hide most of my GUI most of the time. Here's our softMod. So if we go into our setup now here, and then I go into say component mode, and I select just a vertex. I just want to add a softMod just to this part. I just select one vertex, so I can add the memberships later. So if I press softMod, I get my softMod here. That is great, and then I can just add my edit membership and then select the whole head, and that's pretty much what we want to see. Then that's great. And if we see in our outliner, here's our softMod. Now this is good. Now the problem comes, and this is exactly what we want to see, and we're able to control the extra deformation here. Now the problem comes when if we go into object mode again, when you select our controller, and then let's just move slightly this one here. Now select our head. When we move this around, we can see softMod stays in the world, and then our head. So it's not coming with our setup. So what happens then if we parent the softMod to the head? Now we get all this craziness here, and obviously that's not a desirable result. If we group it and we parent the group to it, now the setup stays the way kind of we wanted it, but as well, whenever now we move, we get things, and again, not a desirable result. So we had to do something else. What we'll do to start with, we'll delete our softMod, and what we have to do is actually create a copy of this object and use it as a blend shape, and we'll be adding the softMod to the blend shapes and then controlling it that way. So if we select our head and I duplicate it, Control D, I get a copy of this, and I'm going to unlock the selected and move it in X, so I just get that extra copy so that I can see it. So we'll be working mainly on this head. Let me just unparent Shift P so that we have it, and then let's rename it softMod head. So we got our copy. First of all, what we'll do is we'll create a blend shape. So we select our target, we select our target source, and then we go edit, create deformers, blend shape. Let's make sure that everything is okay. Create topology. We'll do it on the front chain. That's all good. We create it, and then there's our blend shape. What we want to do is to have our blend shape always be at 1, so that if we change that to 1, so that now whenever we do any modifications to this object here, then we'll see it reflected all the way there, and then we can add multiple shapes since they're all additive. So now we have our head with the blend shape, we have our blend shape here. Now we want to control with the softMod, just as we did before, but control the blend shape itself. So If we go into component mode, I'll select this vertex here. SoftMod. Now, for SoftMod, you've got to make sure that if we go to the options, that the preserve history is on. If that is not on, it's kind of used as a modeling tool, so we won't be able to get our SoftMod node, which is what we need to manipulate things. So we create the SoftMod. There it is, and now we'll be adding edit deformist, edit membership, and we'll select shift select all the vertices. You can select half a head if you want to, if you don't want to affect any extra vertices on the other side. Now we can do that, and we can see as soon as we move this, the head now is being deformed, and that's exactly what we wanted. Now, up to here, this is great. Now, it's not very animator friendly, because if we go back here, if we want to animate this now, we have to animate this head, rotate it here, and then if we wanted to do any change to the SoftMod, we had to go to the SoftMod, which is in a different location, and then animate it here so that we move the head here, and definitely not a very good workflow. So let's undo here and go back. So we want to create is a controller in the head that will be controlling this SoftMod here. So in order to do that, we're going to create a locator, and on top of the locator we're going to create a group. So here's our locator, and then I'm just going to press Shift G to create a group above it. The group is the one that we're going to be moving to our correct position, and that leaves us our locator to be on 0, 0, 0, which is what we need because we're going to be connecting those values to the SoftMod handle. Now we can call this SoftMod controller group and the SoftMod controller. We would like to control with the controller as well. Here the fall off. The SoftMods, they're here. They've got a radius fall off, and we're going to be able to control that directly from our controller. So we simply just add an attribute. Let's call it fall off, and I know the default of the SoftMod is 5, so let's just keep it at 5. And then here's our fall off. Okay, this is perfect. Now what we want to do is position the locator in the same place as the SoftMod, so we'll get the same feedback back. So in order to do that, probably easier to turn the wire shade on so that we know that that's the vertex we want to move the group to, and by pressing V we got snap point, then we can just move the group into that, and there's our locator coming across to you. So we turn the shading off. So good, we got our locator. So we want to now be able to move this locator around and make the SoftMod move. Easiest way for that is to use direct connections. So if we open our connection editor, I've got always shortcuts. We're going to have our source, which is our controller locator, and then we need to grab our SoftMod and then load it on the right. And now we just do some direct connections. We need to translate. You go to translate, rotate, rotate, scale, scale. And to finish it off, we also had our fall off. Now in the software handle, the SoftMod 1 is where actually our SoftMod is. If you select that, the right, there's our fall off radius, and then we select it. So now if we select our controller, we go back in here, now we move that, and it's controlling this one, which in turn is back and controlling our blend shape. So that's what we were looking at. Good. The only thing left to do is we can parent now our group to our head, so that whenever we move our head and our controller follows. And instead of parenting, you can use a rivet. You can get them on high-end 3D. There's quite a few scripts that way you can control attach the group the control itself to the skin. In this case, just to make things simpler, we just parent it to the head bone, and now we've got our controller, and we can change our fall off. Let's undo it, back to the bottom, and that's our setup. Probably we don't need to see these ones. Probably a good idea is just to group them together, SoftMods, and hide them. There's our setup. Now we can do this with a lot of different things, not necessarily SoftMods. We can use it with the same technique for using the blendShapes for wire deformers, for any kind of deformers really, just to make it a lot simpler. It'll slow down your scene slightly because we got a lot of blendShapes, but the control that we get out of it, it's tremendous, and it's a good way to get that added control on your character. I hope you like the podcast from this month, and I see you again soon. Bye bye.